Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's time to start our next presentation, and I want to introduce to you Tyrus Kamau, who's from Euclid Consultancy in Kenya, and he's going to talk about the state of cybersecurity in Africa, Kenya. So, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hi, as introduced, my name is Tyrus Kamau. I'm from Kenya, which is in Africa, which is right there. Yeah, those who don't know the country. So I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I have been for the last 10 years. From the book, you'll see that I've dabbled a bit with security. I've worked for a few companies here and there. But today I'm really here to discuss what the state of cybersecurity really is in Kenya. And you'd be happy to know that it's virgin territory, if I must say. So as the rest of the world evolved, more or less, as far as technology is concerned, we had a very interesting revolution. We sort of leapfrogged from one technology to another. Because I remember when I was in university about some 15, 16 years ago, we had really slow internet. So the proliferation for internet was really low. Over and above that, only corporates could afford it. Yeah? And so no one was really thinking about cybersecurity then. But over the last 17 years, we've seen considerable growth in as far as Kenya's technology is concerned, most of which have been propelled by something we call mobile commerce. So we have a product that has a global recognition, which is called M-Pesa. This is the ability to send money from your mobile phone, pay for goods. You can also perform loyalty services, so you can earn points on the same. And at the same time, we've seen a sharp rise in the number of internet users over the last couple of years. And that has also been coupled with the rise of innovation hubs. Like, for instance, we've got the iHub, we have Gearbox. And also, these have been primarily the force behind one of the products known as Ushahidi, which has been used in terms of every time there's a disaster. Like I remember when there was an earthquake in Haiti, Ushahidi used that platform to actually try and locate people. It is a crowd-funded and crowdsourced information platform. So, when did we become InfoSec aware? To the best of my knowledge, it was right about here in 2007. And the first hacking attempt was reported, and this was a website that was defaced. And guess who got blamed? I did. Yeah? So why was I blamed? Because I remember reading stuff, I remember some books, Stealing the Network, How to Own the Box. These were books that used to be in my bedtime stories. And they'd really, really try and influence me to move towards security. I was an ardent follower of Frack magazine, 2600, back in the day when there was really no other material that I could access to. So this is what landed me into trouble. So around October, like I said, I started talking openly about this. So we formed a mailing list called Skunkworks. And in 2010, KPMG carried out a penetration test on an organization which got hacked the following day. And for the second time, I was to blame. Simply because no one had heard about hacking, no one knew what cybersecurity was all about. Everyone thought that you just deploy your banking solution, you just deploy your insurance solution, and that's it. So moving into 2012, things got a bit ugly. So what happened is, a 14-year-old Indonesian kid defaced 103 government websites. So this caught the attention not only of the masses, but also of the government. And what they did in turn is that they decided that they need to develop what is known as a cybersecurity strategy, which was contracted to Booz Allen and Hamilton, and I was part of the team that came up with that strategy document. So people continued experiencing cyber attacks over and over again. Then at around the year 2014, that's when we launched the Cybersecurity Master Plan. So as we all know, documents are good, but if there's no implementation, then it's as good as any other paper that you have in your house. So what we've been grappling with since 2014 is that we found out that teenagers had actually infiltrated our deputy president's Twitter accounts. Our military website was also broken into. They got into the mail servers. They managed to get into some of their systems. And they just put stuff out there. And that's when people realized that, hey, I think there's something going on here. There's something that we can leverage on, and there's something that we can actually develop either a business enterprise of, or we can create capacity around it. And that's when we created this group called the Africa Hackon. So the Africa Hackon is a group of cybersecurity collectives, really young kids who are so passionate about what it is that they do. And being one of the founders of this group, what we did is that we rounded up these guys and we told them, you know what, you can actually use your skills, because we realized some of these kids were responsible for the hacks that were happening previously. So we got them into a room and we told them, you can actually get a good job out of your skills. Yeah, they are really talented. And when we formed the Africa Hackon, the first thing that we did is that we launched a conference. We were trying to have a conference somewhat like DEF CON, Black Hat, and one of our biggest supporters was actually PwC, who sponsored the entire event for us. So over and above that, in 2016, the government continued realizing that cybersecurity is something that cannot go ignored. Yeah? And many other firms started eyeing Kenya as one of the hubs to either launch cybersecurity products, to launch cybersecurity courses. And as we speak right now, in 2017, we have products that are geared towards cybersecurity. Like, for instance, we have cybersecurity insurance right there. We can see that, again, we've been losing a lot of money. That's close to 177 million USD lost through cybersecurity. That's cybercrime. So we're talking of insider fraud. We're talking of mobile money fraud as well. And latest, we've been having an issue with our elections, which is what has actually delayed my paper, because there's some data that I'm supposed to get from the government. But since our elections were annulled and we'll be going back to the polls at the end of this month, there's no government per se. Yeah? So there were allegations that the elections was hacked, and becoming the first African country to annul an election is something that has really placed us on the spotlight. So what does all this mean? So sometime in April, there was a report that was released by Kaspersky indicating that the Lazarus Group has taken over several banks across the world, and Kenya was actually one of the banks. And I came to learn that there were 2 banks where they lost money through the APT that was launched. And at the same time, we realized that these banks, as someone rightfully put it, they will not disclose what happened. They'll not give you access to their logs. They'll not give you access to either the malware samples that they had or the malware samples that they collected. And so they continue to remain closed. So getting access to malware, for analysis, trying to do research, trying to probably see what the attribution was all about or where it came from has become a big, big hurdle. However, that has not stopped us from, trying. So one of our friends is Matt Suchi. He paid us a visit actually this year, and he was quite impressed with the progress that we've been making. And we also had a leading professor from America, Dr. Maurice Dawson, who also paid us a courtesy call. And he could see the potential that we have in as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Some of our other friends, we have Nite. Nite is popularly known for BroadPorn, something that he's been working on, and we are currently working with him on certain projects that we are running. And just to show you the sort of potential that we have within Euclid and also within Africa Hackon, we have some open source tools that have been endorsed by OWASP. So we have Methelement Framework, which is a really great penetration testing tool and exploiting framework, which fosters a principle of attacking a website using the web as well as pen test on the go. Yeah. Then we also have the Mara framework. This is a tool that was developed by one of my engineers. He's called Christian. And this has widely been used as well and has been largely endorsed by the mobile forensics community. So it does reverse engineering and analysis, both static and dynamic analysis of Android applications and malware as well. And there's also Twigger, again, understanding Android internals for exploitation. So supports 4.2 all the way to 7.11. And then we also have, this guy is called Charles. So Charles is really good with APIs. So he's been one of the engineers that we've been working on also on iOS, just trying to understand how iOS malware checks out within our context and how we can develop capabilities to try and either combat it and also try and publish as much information about it. So what are our areas of interest? So personally, I have a very, very big interest in SDR, RF as well, GSM. So what we do here is that we try and help telcos in developing awareness in as far as vulnerabilities are concerned. So we work very closely with projects like Osmocom BB and OpenBTS. Like I said, we also do a lot of Android reverse engineering as well. And then we also have a bit of iOS at the same time. And then one of the other things that we also do is that we conduct a lot of training and awareness. So what we do is that we go to universities and we talk to young kids and we just try and mentor them into cybersecurity. And one of the things that has really come out of it is that we've managed to get close to about 50 guys straight from university, earning, earning money through proper jobs that are surrounding cybersecurity. And at the same time, we also have many guys who are publishing and also writing white papers in as far as their research is concerned. So what our challenge has been? One is very limited knowledge of InfoSec tech know-how, and also most of the tech-savvy people are developers. So one of the challenges we found is trying to convert a developer into a cybersecurity mindset, because all they think about is building. While in cybersecurity or InfoSec, what you're trying to do is trying to deconstruct what someone else has built, try to get into their mind. So that has been one of the biggest challenges, but we are trying to overcome that, like I said, with the training and awareness programs that we are running. At the same time, domain knowledge is highly underappreciated. As mentioned, just like everyone else in the world, I was really surprised to hear that even in Latin America, people don't want to discuss the compromises. So that's the same thing that has been happening in our country. People don't want to discuss that they've lost money. They don't want to open up their servers for forensics. They don't want to share information. Then we also suffer from this, death by certification. Most of the companies will only hire you if you have maybe no less than 5 certificates under your belt, but that does not directly translate to what? To the domain knowledge. So that is another challenge that we're trying to demystify. And how we're doing this is through the Africa Hackon, because what we try to do is try and move away from theoretical conferences to having demonstrations and, what they say, a picture seen once is better than a picture explained 1,000 times. So if I show you how it is done once, that's it. It will stick to your mind. And that way we also try and prop these young guys out there and try and market them to these companies. And that's how we've been able to grow the job industry in as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Then there's this willingness to learn and put in blood, sweat, and tears is widely lacking. As we all know, personally, from my experience, the way I learned, I spent sleepless nights. I still do. And most people don't want to do this. All they want to do is probably go to the keyboard and look for the button called hack. Press it and that's it. So most people don't have this mindset, or they don't have the passion, and that's something else that we are trying to cultivate and tell people that you cannot get into this field if you're not willing to put in the willingness, the time, the effort, and also the sacrifices. And lastly, show me the money. No one wants to sit, in their bedroom late at night trying to debug or just reverse engineer malware, and they're not going to get paid for it. So they want to get paid for it. So what's the challenge to us? So what you're trying to do is trying to identify what are those fields that we can also have established either through the government or through private public partnerships initiatives that we've been trying to push for. And some of these partnerships include, we have a SAT that was established a few years ago, but it's been quite dormant. So what we're trying to see is how can it be realigned and how can it be re-engineered to accommodate some of these people. At the same time, we also have SOCs that have been set up by specific industries. So we have a banking SOC, we also have an insurance SOC, and we also have a medical SOC. Although this, again, has its own challenges, people are still not very open to discussing these ideas. But the one thing is for sure, regulation is catching up. Like I said, with the Cybersecurity Master Plan that was launched, we have a couple of cybercrime bills that are being debated in our parliament, and they'll be passed as law. We also have regulators like our central bank and also our communications authority. So they're also a regulator who have put out regulations that companies and organizations need to show clear intention of trying to grow their cybersecurity capacity and also their capability at the same time. And of course, they have to be audited quarterly. So what does that mean for us? We need more people. We need more capacity. We need more tools at hand. And we don't just need tools to have them plugged into the organizations. We need tools that can actually also help us collate as much data as possible so that by the time we are coming to such conferences, we are sharing actual statistics that will show us that, in as far as, malware attribution is concerned, APTs and all those things, we have also not been left behind. And that's it from me.